the Cowboys' history on Thanksgiving outside of the Leon Lett thing. What is your standout Turkey Day memory? I fired off that audio, or Alec did. I don't know how to do that. Because I don't want to lie.
We've tried.
Is because the Jason Garrett game makes a lot of sense to me. If you go back to 1994 against the Packers, I probably should have asked Broadus about that. But the Cowboys were getting worked. They were down 17-6. Jason Garrett comes in, I believe his second start ever in place of Troy Aikman.
Yep.
And they go ham in the second half and end up winning that game 42-31.
He was Troy Aikman to Michael Irvin. And I was at that game, and it was the craziest thing because nobody expected it. Barry Switzer was the coach at the time, and Jason Garrett, I mean, people who love Cooper Rush right now, he did a Cooper Rush.
Right. And Emmitt Smith was huge in that game, too.
Yes,
I feel like all-purpose yards-wise, he had more than 200 yards. I feel like that gets lost in the saga of Jason Garrett because people are like, well, I can give you a lot of other Emmitt Smith games. I don't know how many other Jason Garrett games I could give you. So I think Jason Garrett is my standout non-Leon Lett performer.
You know what's it was so interesting about that game in particular? They didn't ask him. They asked him to do the Troy Aikman stuff, and he did it. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to dumb this thing down and just hand it off to Emmitt every time. Emmitt had a big game, but it wasn't like Emmitt had to carry the team because Jason Garrett couldn't do anything. Jason Garrett, like, nobody thought he could do that. And when it was over with, I kid you not only did the players mob him after the game, but the media mobbed him. He couldn't even get into the tunnel.
Did he answer all the questions?
Yes, he did. But he didn't do the robotic Coach Jason Garrett. He evolved.
All three phases of the game are important.
He was a real guy back then.
Now, that was a positive one, Mike. I have a feeling you're going to go 4 years later to a not positive one.
Well, I was there, and it was pretty amazing.
That's fair.
In 1998, Randy Moss is a rookie, and obviously big story coming into the game because he thought he was going to be drafted by the Cowboys. I think it was the 8th or 9th pick. I'll always say this. Greg Ellis was a really good player.
Yes.
Like he wasn't
solid, very solid.
It wasn't like a bad pick. If you just look at Greg Ellis's career, you would say, that's a good pick. He had a good career, but the thing was everybody thought it was going to be Randy Moss at that pick, and it wasn't. And honestly, I don't know, 8 or 10 other teams passed on Randy Moss till he finally got picked.
But you know what the deal was? Jerry was going to pick him, and Galloway and Dale Hansen led a media charge where no. We just went through the White House at Michael Irvin. We just he got busted at college for smoking weed.
You know what I don't understand, Chris, is why would Jerry go draft somebody like this?
Well, that media narrative talked him out of it, and when he wasn't drafted, Michael Irvin called Randy Moss and said that was all my fault. If my stuff hadn't happened, this is on me. Because Michael Irvin wanted Randy Moss to be drafted as well. To this day, Randy Moss does not hate the Dallas Cowboys. He just thought it was definitely going to happen. And it didn't. And seriously, it was this momentum of, we can't have this around here. We're trying to move past all this shenanigans stuff. And Michael Irvin said, that's on me. That's on me.
To your point, Chris, 2 years later, they trade 2 first-round draft picks for Joey Galloway.
Yeah, they were trying to make up.
And he gets hurt first game of the year, and his career pretty much ends after that. I know that he came back from the injury, but he was never close to the same. So the Cowboys were chasing after that, not taking Randy Moss. Like, we have to get another guy. But that game I was with 3 of my cousins at that game. My grandfather had season tickets from day one of the Dallas Cowboys until the end of the 98 season. That was just because he had hip replacement surgeries. He just physically couldn't.
It wasn't Randy Moss that is I'm done.
He physically couldn't go to the games anymore, and so that ended his season ticket ownership. But going to that game and being there, every time they threw the ball to Randy Moss, and I think it was only 3 times. It was a touchdown every time.
3 catches, all for touchdowns, more than 50 yards. Ended the game, 3 catches, 163 yards.
The whole team, the Cowboys, got mossed.
That Vikings team was really good.
They were really, really good. I thought they would go to the Super Bowl and win it.
For sure.
I really did.
Kevin, I'm going to say 2001. Potentially the greatest band of all time performs a halftime show. Multiple years later, Years later, they inspire the Rangers to win a World Series. The Creed halftime show, Kevin, in 2001.
Oh, those are still memes.
If you haven't gone back to watch it, don't just watch the memes.
And I haven't.
Go back and watch the entire video because it starts out a certain way, and by the end of it, you go, what the hell did I just see? And you're also kind of caught off guard by how amazing it was.
Who was that man?
That was Creed. Well, there is a
Scott
moment.
Stapp.
There is a moment, Chris, where a woman hops up on stage and sings 4 words and then leaves. I don't know who she is to this day. I still have no clue. So who was that woman is what I thought.
But Kevin, there was this guy floating around. Who was that guy?
Yeah, there were 2 of them.
It sounds like you guys have been studying this like
no,
the
I was
JFK.
there. I was at it. I was like, who is this guy?
I'm surprised it wasn't you.
No.
But I mean, you've done all the things. I'm surprised you're like, yep, that was me.
It was.
That would be
you know
amazing.
what? Somebody thought I did do halftime at a Cowboys Thanksgiving game. It was Neil McCoy. It was not me.
Okay.
Neil,
y'all do look alike. I can see that.
I swear to God, he and I talked about that after that game. He said, I bet people say you look like me. And I said, yes, they say that all the time. So we took a picture together.
There you go, man. That's a confusing picture, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 2001. Anything about the game, or you're just like, who cares?
I mean, do you not remember that Creed was there, Kevin, and that they performed?
It inspired the Rangers 30 years later, 20 years later.
They lost that game, I do believe, 26-24 to the Denver Broncos.
There's no way that the Philadelphia game in '89, that wasn't Thanksgiving where they killed Troy Aikman and killed our kicker. That wasn't Thanksgiving.
I don't think that was Thanksgiving. You in the bounty game?
Because I was like 11 years old then, and I just remember it being a big game. As in just because Buddy Ryan hated Tom Landry and was always trying to embarrass him as much as possible.
And put the bounty on Zendejas, the kicker, because he used to kick for the Eagles.
So,
man,
I just couldn't remember as a kid if that was Thanksgiving or not.
It might have been, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw this one out there as well. As I don't know how much people talk about this game, and maybe they should, is 2006. Cowboys beat the Bucs 38-10 in Romo's first Thanksgiving game. And remember, he had not taken over that long earlier. It might have been like a month earlier that he took over the starting spot. 22-29, 309 yards passing. And it just felt like, I mean, that is a national stage. It felt like he had arrived in that moment. And much like in 2016 with Dak and Zeke, it felt like it was going to be the beginning of
something special.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was not. It was something good, but never transcended to that next level.
Not quite. He always had a great November, though. Ironically, if you look up Romo's record in November, the month of November, he was either undefeated several years or only lost one game.
I will say this about the Thanksgiving game specifically, Kevin, when it comes to memories of it.
Yeah.
A lot of times it gets lost what happened. Because it is Thanksgiving, and maybe you're having a little extra piece of pie, or maybe you're having a little extra bourbon. Whatever it is, you're in the conversations start happening.
Or the tryptophan kicks in.
Yeah, exactly. It's time to nap. A lot of times I've found myself napping on the in-laws' couch somewhere. But that is what it does happen a lot of times where you're like, you get invested now in conversation about whatever, and you lose track of the third quarter, kind of like the Cowboys did.
Yeah.
And so that does happen a lot of times.
Your grandparents might say that the best Thanksgiving Day game was Clint Longley came in for Roger Staubach.
Somebody texted that
and won the game.
For the 469, the Clint Longley game on Thanksgiving Day. I have to admit.
Was the final pass to Tony Hill or Drew Pearson?
I don't remember.
I see the highlight all the time of it. You'll see the highlight tomorrow.
I want to say it was Drew. I want to say it's Drew because Drew kind of says.
But you'll see the highlight tomorrow when they show great, especially because they're playing Washington. So that will be one of the highlights of this is a big rival, and it's happened on Thanksgiving plenty of times, and so you'll see it tomorrow if you're paying attention.
By the way, quiet as it's kept, the part 2 of that story is later the next year in training camp. Roger Staubach had to beat his ass. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, he punched
in the
him
locker room.
right in the face.
It was Drew Pearson.
I thought it was
okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
But Roger stopped because Clint was getting all full of himself at training camp, like he might challenge for Roger's job, and Josh like, no, you're not. You just had a lucky Thanksgiving.
Somebody texted in.
Same thing happened with Troy Aikman and Jason Garrett, I heard.
No, not quite.
Whoa.
No, I'm just joking, Kevin. That's not true.
From the 713, Zeke jumping in the kettle was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We will have Jake Ferguson on the show today. And
he jumped in there last year.
And he might have thoughts about tomorrow. We will will get to that.
He was part of the tight end thing
last year. He jumped in last year. It was the whack-a-mole.
We have a great bit of detail about that one, and then potentially maybe something tomorrow. So we will get that in on the show.
Remember when Zeke threw in Dak? Just picked him up and threw him in?
And it's really weird to me that, like, while bringing spotlight to the charitable thing that the Cowboys are doing, the NFL is like, we got to find you.
They find them all the time. It's just a mess.
I think there are some good, like, the better options to do with that fine money too. I think there's some great. Donate it to Peace-a-thon, NFL. If that happens, take that money and donate it to Peace-a-thon.
That's a great point. We are lagging in donations. As much as everyone's bidding, that's super awesome. We are lagging on donations. I might need to go get that hot sauce. The 817, Jason Garrett on Thanksgiving from the 940, Jason Garrett. Now, it probably depends on how old you are, which one stands up. But obviously, to everybody, they know Leon Lett. And that's why we're like, hey, let's set that one to the side. Yeah, and I remember the only thing
he was trying too hard.
I know, and he just.
But those that don't know, the field goal got blocked, and he decided to chase the football and fall on it, but he fumbled it because it was icy. And
you just needed to not touch it, and the game was over. You win. And I remember being mad, but I was also a kid, and so me and my sister went and played out in the snow, and then you just kind of forgot about it for like a little while. Now I feel like that might permeate through the rest of my day.
I distinctly remember my grandparents didn't live too far from us. When I went to Bryan Adams High School, I was on one side of Bryan Adams. My grandparents were on the other. And I distinctly remember driving down PV Road, and my dad's trying to keep, in the ruts, he's trying to stay in the ruts so he can keep everything going. And we're listening to the game because I don't know why we left. I can't remember why we left during the game to go home. But as we're driving, I'm hearing everything going on, and then we get in the house, open the door, turn the TV on, and that happened immediately. And I have a distinct memory of, because when it snows or ices here, it's not white, it's gray and
that's a great point.
I can still see it all, man.